Hi everybody, and welcome to Traveling with Russell, and welcome to a new video. Welcome to the outskirts of Moscow. I found a very interesting hardware construction store that I want to show you, and I think you might find it very interesting as well. The actual hardware store itself is right behind me, and I'm in a very old market or shopping center. This is very much a 1980s, 1990s style where they've got lots of small little shops. Pretty much all the shops in here focus on clothes, particularly for ladies. And there's a few other small businesses around. Looks like there's someone that can fix watches and batteries. And then this is the place that I want to show you. It's actually a construction store, a hardware store, a tool shop, all wrapped into one, and it's called Virage. Now, there's not really a translation of it into English, what the meaning of the word is. However, there is only 8 of these in Russia, and there's one here in Moscow. There is also some in Krasnoyarsk, which is where the actual company is from. And what is super interesting, on top of all the other interesting things that have happened to me today, this is owned by a Russian YouTuber. And I didn't know that before I got here. Somebody just told me that 5 minutes ago. And his channel is about cars and about drifting and tuning cars particularly. And I just thought it was super interesting because I was curious if it was Russian owned. And then one of the gentlemen told me that it's owned by a YouTuber or content creator. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take you for a walk around and point out quite a few different things that, of course, might be very familiar to everybody. And just the unique way that they display things in the shops here. If you have come across this video and it's the first one you've seen on my channel, I'm an Australian who lives here in the Moscow region. I live about an hour and a half away from here. This is not the area where I live. And I make content about everyday life here in Russia and show you a lot of normal, typical things. You might see the word typical a lot in my titles because this is typical for Russia and typical for Russians who want to come and buy things from a hardware store or from a tool shop, which may be loosely what this is described as. So I hope you enjoy this video. Perhaps grab a cup of tea and a biscuit and relax and enjoy this walk around. I also want to thank a subscriber of the channel who recommended that I come to this store and show it as part of the different videos on my channel, because it's very interesting what they have in this shop and how it's laid out and the way that they sell products in Russia. Now, it is essentially a hypermarket or a construction market. There's quite a few different words that can describe what this shop is. However, it depends on what you want from it. And what they've done is the way it's actually laid out, it's laid out into different categories of items and products. What they do is they don't just put a few things on display. They lay out every item individually, and then you go and purchase them from a counter. They'll take them from storage, and you'll purchase what you need. And this section over here is to do with things for electricians and electrical items. So the boxes right here, the fuse rails on the back. There's also some more technical tools, soldering irons. There's the electrical testers. And then these actually on the back here are the heating elements, or perhaps the replacement ones for something like an oven or a stove or cooktop. So you can actually fix and repair things. Now in Russia, it's very popular that when something's broken, you take it to somewhere that can repair it, or give you the good or bad news if something isn't repairable. And people will definitely have a go at trying to fix it by buying the spare parts to do that. You'll see here on the wall all of the fuses for the electrical box, and just absolutely one of everything in its own category. Would you possibly go to a shop where you live somewhere in the world and buy the replacement element for your oven? Or would you think that it's already run its course and buy a new one and replace it? We've even got the magnifying glasses there as well. Whole series of soldering irons. Now I am going to walk around a fair bit of the store because I think it's very fascinating to see this method of how they display things. And of course this is a retail store, and you buy things, pay for it, and you go home. Very simple. I will come back to the tools, I think, at the end. But the way they've got things displayed here is not that retail traditional format where there is stuff on shelves where you take the actual product to the counter. So you just let them know what you particularly want. Here is things for LED. Is it going to be flashing? So there's literally everything you want to do LED. Lighting, outdoor lighting, even extension cords. They have them all laid out individually, and it's not a theory about people would perhaps steal it. You know, the fact that it's attached to the paneling, it's more that you can see the different choices and you can make a better decision on what you want. For instance, here is these plastic straps. I'm trying to think what the name of them are. This, where they hook together. So you can choose any size you like, any color you like. Here are the cable trays for wiring. Actually, I'm not even sure what some of the things I'm looking at do. Definitely different types of conduit and pipes. So if you want something very specific, even the fluorescent tubes. So you have an aisle of different ones to choose from. These are the light panels that they quite often have in retail shops. My wife has these in her nail salon on the ceiling. So there is actually an entire tool section over here on the right. And then there is a little bit of things for gardening. So again, they've got one of everything displayed. So there's no boxes and no packaging material. You know, you can actually see it on display. You can touch it, play with it, whatever you like to do. And then make that decision of which one you want to purchase. There's fans. I think these are the heating elements that you would have above doorways. These are for garages or for drying your paint. And then a lot of choices at the same time. And I think that's what makes it very different in the stores like this, because you can not necessarily only have one or two choices. You've got dozens of choices. There is electrical motors here. I guess they can be used for all sorts of different things. And while I'm here, I want to thank all of my fans as well of the channel. You're very great. Tall fan, short fan, thank you for watching. I was very recently at a very large construction expo in Moscow, and it was more to do with heavy machinery. And there was actually a Milwaukee display there, or there was a sales rep for Milwaukee. And according to many people, they've left Russia However, you can happily buy whatever you want from their selection. There is about 5 or 6 different places in Moscow where you can find Milwaukee products. There's a whole aisle here of welding items. So you've got all the different models. And then, of course, there's sales reps in the store who can talk you through the 100 different welding machines. And then you've got your choice of all of the safety gear and accessories, and even the gauges for the acetylene tanks. Please correct me if I'm saying the wrong thing. Possibly I'm getting my words mixed up. And then generally down each of the aisles there is a specialist counter where they would be able to then find the items that you want to buy. So here, for instance, for welding, you've got all of the clamps, all of the welding guns. Is that what they're called? Welding rods. And then literally as many possible items as you can dream of. Now, I'm not very handy personally. However, there is a lot of people in Russia who are very smart, very knowledgeable, and I'm sure there are around the world, and including people watching. These are the welding rods right here. And you'd come over to the counter, tell the gentleman what you want, and then he'll go into his back room and find certain things. There is brass fittings here as well. And then things like the pipes and anything you want. There is absolutely aisles and aisles of things. And I think the key with these sorts of places is the organization. I mean, that's an absolute must. There's the foil there, like aluminium and perhaps copper. And it's just fascinating to come to this kind of shop and then show this on a video, which I think perhaps there isn't another video like this. Even tape. And there's a case of it. And of course it's locked in a cupboard, but this is not the point of that. I mean, the idea is that it stays there and then you just let them know the model number of what it is you want, and they can then keep a better control of all of the quantities that they have. And if things need to be replenished and restocked, they can do it from their back stock. And then the display of items that you see here is what's physically purchasable. All of the paint removers. And then if you're going to do things like plastering or sanding, tiling, there's some different things. This is for doing flooring, skirting boards. Now this particular shop, or this particular brand of shop, is more focused around the construction of apartments or whatever you're going to build. Maybe you're going to build a garage or a house. And whereas I've been to a place called Limana Pro or Leroy Merlin, which is a little bit more retail orientated, where they've got a lot more things for your house, like soft furnishings. This place has more of the hardware related items. Here are shower drains, for instance, and then all of the pipes for sewerage. There is a few toilets here. Of course, you can go to very specific plumbing stores if you're wanting more choices. Absolutely you can. I mean, that's really a personal choice of what shop you like to go to. the customer service and, you know, what specialist help that you want. Here are outdoor sinks, and these are very popular in country houses in Russia. Just put them on the side of the shed, fill them with water, and you're good. Different types of foam, I think insulation, or this is for doors and windows, like the seals. There's some fencing, maybe for chickens and things like that. And then you can get even just the common garden things, sprinkler heads. And again, you've got not just the one or two choices, you've got 10 choices of everything. I think even more if you were to really count it out. And all of the pipes and the fittings. Then you can do basically hot and cold water pipe work. I think this is insulated, or the insulation for pipes. Yeah, rubber piping. And all the different clamps and things that you would use. Again, I don't know what I'm even looking at. These pipe clamps. So you've got every possible size you can dream of. I've never been to this chain of stores before, and all the years I've lived here, I didn't know this shop existed until a subscriber pointed it out to me, because a lot of people that would want to do things like home repairs, like we did recently in our place, we go to a place that was called Obi, that's still here, and then now a place called Limana Pro, or what was Leroy Merlin, and they're a little bit more retail orientated and more, I'm not sure, more family and husband and wife designed, whereas this place you're coming in for specific items and specific sizes of things. So it's just super interesting, and I'm sorry if the video ends up being too long, but I think this is rather your unique store to come to. They have some outdoor ovens here as well, and a lot of people would mount these into a backyard or a patio kind of setting. You can also buy all of the things for the flues, even the replacement doors and the grates. All sorts of things that are way beyond my knowledge with my IKEA toolkit. They've even got the sewerage covers. They're a little bit rusty, but I think they just need a bit of a brush over. Would you imagine that there's a retail store that has that kind of thing? Here are all of the types of foam insulation that you can use. There's also the material here that you can use for chairs, I think. I'm not too sure how you use it, but they have it. Lots of different types of this metal-backed insulation. At the far end of the shop, they do actually have this more grab-and-go type of items, particularly all things for your house or your country house. So all the cleaning supplies, containers, floor mats. So these are all stocked more traditionally, where they've got quantities of items and just more of that retail feel to the shop. And I think, you know, this is not something that you need to go and ask somebody to get me a bucket or a watering can. So it's definitely more of that supermarket type feel to the shop. Even petrol cans, water storage cans. There is really so many different things in here. This is more people that have country houses or dachas. You can get the water barrels, and then a few things for outdoor kitchens, and even some floor mats for the shower. There's more plumbing items, and the same thing again, you find the specific thing that you want, and then you just order it from one of the counters and they go grab it from the back stock. We actually need to replace our sink grate in our bathroom. Here are the heating pipes for your bathroom, which are connected to the mains water of your apartment. And a lot of people have told me that they don't have this in some countries. And basically it's a heated towel rail. But you can get many choices. The one that we have is probably this one or this one. I don't know. It looks exactly like the one that we had installed. And even now that summer has started, it's still working, and you just pop the towels on there, and the hot water that's running into the building is continuously running through that pipe. So there's a bathroom section here. Now I'm very curious, do you like this method of shopping where everything is a display and everything is on show? You're not having to open a box to look at something to understand what it is. They've got, for instance here, the traps for the sink, and you've got 10 or 12 to choose from. Do you like this method? Now there isn't as much plumbing stuff in here as there would be in some other bigger specific bathroom and plumbing stores, but just the way they've got it laid out. You can even buy hand dryers here, even the toilet roll holders, the taps for the washing up liquid. So you can buy everything for your house or apartment in one place. I think a lot of people would know this shop because of its layout and how it's got things available. All the things for showers, sinks, Tokito from Japan. And there's one here with a German flag, so I wonder if it's a company from Germany. There is literally aisle after aisle of items, all the different pumps, and then the valves, and everything's got a price on it. Everything's got the brand and then the country of origin where it's from, and everything is slightly different. It's just interesting where you see smallest to largest on the display. This is all of the different plumbing supply items, so you're not necessarily having to replace a whole bathroom. If for instance your sink needs fixing, you can just come in and get the particular item. Have a look at these taps. How cool are these? With the chickens on, with a snail. Wow, I reckon I could sell them in Australia very easily. I really don't know what a lot of things are needed for here. I mean, I can see that it's for plumbing and bathrooms. These are the pipes for under the sink for the hot and cold water. And again, the thing is you can buy everything specifically by the size that you need, and then the type, color. Where people do central heating under the flooring, you've got the different items for this. And then even the water treatment, hot water tanks, and all the filters, as well. Amazing. So I just want to make one correction, and I was speaking to one of the staff here, and the actual owner of the store is actually a Russian gentleman from Krasnoyarsk, and one of his partners is the YouTuber, and the actual owner of the store is a very well-known drift car racer, multiple world champion in drift racing, if that's what it's called, drifting. So I just want to make a correction because I feel bad now that I said it as one thing, but it's something else, and I hope he won't mind the explanation. However, it's still super interesting that the owner of this company has just a few locations. This is the first one in Moscow, literally, and his background is in car racing of all things. There's a couple of aisles in this store which get really interesting, and just the way it's laid out and the organization of it is something I think perhaps nobody has seen before, definitely outside of Russia. Unless this is a normal thing, please let me know. However, things like nuts and bolts and screws are displayed on these traditional shop shelves, but there's just one of everything. So you can see quite literally the different nuts, and then washers, also threads, are all individually displayed, and there is literally hundreds of them here. On this side is all of the things like door fixtures, fittings, very traditional Russian letterboxes, even TV mounts, and then brackets for things like patios or making additions on your house. And if you have a look on this back wall here, for instance, a gentleman comes in wanting one particular item in a particular size, then the staff will quite literally take what they've got and find it somewhere on this wall. And then in the back then they've got all of the stock in racks and boxes and containers, and you literally buy it by the quantity that you need. So here you'll see all of the nuts and bolts again, and these I think more like concrete dynabolts, and then things like the plugs when you're mounting screws on the wall. So there isn't that normal packet of something where you're buying a certain quantity. There is the option for you to buy them by how many you actually want, and then they even show you the way that they will go into the wall, so the different types of wall mounting inserts. I think these are called wall plugs. They do sell some drill bits here as well. I think they might be also individual, and then you can buy the sets of them from the different brands if you like. And there isn't just a couple of drill bits. There is hundreds, maybe thousands of them. Check out some of these bigger ones for pipe work and different things. It is absolutely incredible, the selection. And I've never seen it displayed like this here in Russia. I have been to other hardware stores, of course, and other tool stores, but just the way they've got this displayed. So you can choose these 1 or 2 meter size drill bits. There's a Makita right there. And it's just incredible the options that you have. Also these spade bits as well. Now, please let me know if this is normal or if this is truly unique, because I really want to thank the person that sent me here to come to make this video and to see what they have available here. think these are metal dies. And then even the blades for circular saws. They have absolutely everyone that you could possibly want and need. Also things like attachments for doors and gates. Have a look at the size of these different shackles. They go right up to this crazy big one. And then chains you can buy by any size and by length. They even have chains for bikes, or maybe motorbikes as well. This is way more than what I realized. I did do a very brief walk around when I got here, but I didn't realize to the extent how many things they have. They've also got the router bits as well. There's different sets of them, which is pretty neat. I just noticed this Makita one. And have a look at the size and the diameter of this drill bits. And this whole section is specialized for drill bits, nuts and bolts and screws. It's very, very fascinating. This is incredibly niche, however, for home construction, for houses, and perhaps for some businesses as well. The number of door locks that they have here. So you've probably watched some of my apartment tours, and I've talked about the heavy doors that they have on pretty much every apartment and house in Russia. And then when you perhaps buy somewhere, you can just buy the replacement lock rather than changing the whole door itself. You have the option here for the internal doors as well. And have a look, they've got some American branded oils, I think, lock lubricant. And then even all of the basic replacement parts for your lock. When we moved into our apartment, we basically took out the barrel, brought it to a local shop, and then bought the one that we needed to replace and get a new set of keys. They come with generally 3 or 4 keys in a set. They've even got just the door strikers. These are the buttons to get into the apartments, the different types that you can buy. Different doorbells, different handles. And again, this is all displayed one of everything. So you just tell them the exact item that you want, and they'll go get it for you from the stock. I didn't realize the amount of door latches they have here, all the different soft closing doors, and then the rails if you want to replace it for your kitchen, and then right down to the shelf hooks. Yeah, it's really incredibly large, the assortment that they've got. I wish I knew about this place about 2 months ago when we did some changes to our apartment, because we could have easily bought a couple of the basic replacement items here rather than having to buy a whole set to change the pipes for our kitchen and bathroom. They've also got any type of rope you might possibly need. And this is all sold by length. So if you want to tie up your super yacht, you can. They've also got chain, all sorts of twine, even ratchet straps. And if you want to anchor things down or attach things, again, there's just so many choices. We've even got things like the belt buckle latches and straps. You never really know, I think when you come into this place, you come in with an idea to buy one thing, and you notice something else that you've forever wondered where you can buy it. And these are the straps for my camera bag, for instance, the replacements for that. Got some ladders back here. And then we come around to the tool section. So over here is things for gardening, lawnmowers, chainsaws. There's also vacuums, Denzel brand. And then on this left-hand side, they've got lifting equipment, even pallet jacks. And then this is really very interesting. They've got replacement parts for things like chainsaws, and then all of the little accessories. We've got more traditional tools. So there is an entire section here that is this whole middle part of the shop. If you're going to do some cement mixing or paint mixing, heat guns, and over here more tools for garden implements, all of the wires for the grass trimmers, even the accessories for kacha they have. Now, officially, I believe they're not in Russia, but they're definitely here. And then different types of discs for grinding, polishing, these wire brushes, and very large circular saw discs there. Actually, they get bigger. And all the types of wire discs. They have the different types of bench grinders, polishing pads. It's something that is even bigger of a selection than when I walked in, or what I was expecting when I arrived here. They have a couple of very, very interesting sections here, and one of the gentlemen was pointing out or explaining to me what they were, because I was a little bit unsure when I first saw them. So these are replacement motors for drills, and the different types, sizes, speeds. So you can actually get the replacement parts for tools. There's the guards there for the grass trimmers. There's also a tool that you can buy. And then I think it's over this side, it's probably easier. These are also all of the spare parts for the petrol whippersnippers. And they've got absolutely every choice of spare parts. And then even the plastic surroundings for chainsaws. And right down to pretty much every spare part that would come in them that you can get a part number off. The pull cords right there. Is there any shop you've ever been to that has this kind of assortment? Please let me know if this is comparable to somewhere where you live. There's also more different parts, even things like the different switches and mechanisms where they've failed, the clickers on the switches have failed, right down to little springs. Incredible. Of course, also all the different saw blades for cutting. So you can see how they've got them displayed there, lined up, the different types, of course the different brands, and things like the price and information on them. These are the multi-tool blades. I think that's what they're called. Cutting edges for planers. And I think, so over here is all the sandpaper for belt sanders. And this might be the brushes or the grinding discs. And we can see on this back wall, all the staff are gathered together here, but all the guys work in different parts of the store, and then they're all specialists for each area as I've walked around. And they're all specifically knowledgeable about every possible thing in this shop. And then you can see how many choices there are of drills, of grinders. See, over here is all of the garden equipment, sprayers. There's some different branded tools as well. Actually, these are all the battery operated ones rather than the power tool versions. So all of the bigger brands are here. Makita, there's Bosch, we saw Milwaukee. Okay, so that makes sense. These are all the power and battery operated models. And on the wall, as far as you can see, are all of the power tools. And they have all of the drills. My wife keeps wanting to buy me one of these, but then I keep making the excuse that I don't know what I'm going to do with it once I own one. And because we've done quite a few of our repairs recently, I got inspired and wanted one, and then I just can't find a use for it now. So this is actually how you do your shopping. So you take the piece of paper here and a pencil, and then as you go around the shelves, so where are we here? You chainsaw right here, you write down this model number on your piece of paper, and then you can go to one of the tool desks and they'll bring out the tool for you, or you can go to the register and pay, and then they'll grab the item that you've paid for. I'm not sure if I showed this when I walked in, but they've got some setups here, which is quite interesting because it's showing you the possibilities of all the things you can buy in the store, and things like the electrical panels, how you can wire it into a generator. And then on the different products here, they've got the price tickets and the model numbers of things, and it's showing you some of the basic options for setting up power and lighting and things like that, the circuit boards, and then the switches and rails and things like that, even the underfloor heating that you could install. So there's a couple of different options. There's an electrical version, or there's a water heated version. Actually, I think this is probably the better option, but you don't see it under the tiles, of course, but the things like the radiators, and then the, whatever this is called, the valves for the water and inlet and outlets, and then hot water services, and I think even extractor fans as well. And then things like the shower drains, toilet systems, the pipes, sinks. And then all of the items that we've walked around and seen in the store, they've got set up here in one place. So you can just get a bit of an idea, and it goes into your head a little bit better. And then the water filters as well. It's a great way to cross-promote all the items from within one store by seeing them on a display like this. They have even more tools around the other side. A lot of these are petrol and gas driven generators. There's the drills for doing the pylons, all the different types of generators. Not just a few of them, there is a whole wall of them. And then all of the items to fix and repair and replace them at the same time. All sorts of different garden related items. Of course, now we're in the middle of summer. These are what people are really wanting. All of the accessories and belts, if anything needs fixing or replacing. Now, I was told, I was looking for this for a little while where it was, because I'd done a bit of a walk around myself. These are the grinding discs for mince meat makers, if that makes sense. And then some of the other parts for them as well. They even have the parts for vacuums. I didn't notice that as I walked around. They've got all the filters. These are the replacement pipes if you wanted them. There's some more bench tools and more spare parts for them. And I think this must be a Russia thing where they have this set up like this, where if you think something's broken, you can figure out a way to fix it. Now, they have here also all of the air compressor tools, and then all of the fixtures and pipes, hoses that you might possibly want. It's really almost scary when you'd walk in here, because you'd come across so many things that you probably didn't need, but then now you can put it all into one place where you can come and buy it from one store, because there is every imaginable extra part. I think there's also some parts for small engines here. All of the spray gun attachments on the top. And then these are all of the air compressors over on this side. And if you were really wanting a specialist shop for this sort of stuff, I think we've found it. You can buy all the different pipes. So they've actually got here some of the parts lists for the models, and you could be able to find somewhere the part that you might need. This is on an entirely different level of shop. Now, if you're in America, Canada, maybe England, is there anything like this? I don't believe there is, but I stand to be corrected. If someone knows somewhere different that has a better shop than this, a bigger selection. I mean, these aren't small air compressors, these are on an industrial scale. And this shop is completely open to the public, so for instance, certain things for my house for repairing I can buy here, and right up to these industrial size ones. I know a lot of people will perhaps say in the comments that the video is very long and it's perhaps a little bit boring. However, the channel was built around coming to do tours of shops and supermarkets and different types of retail experiences. And it's a pleasure for me to make this video and to be told about it from yourself, a subscriber. So please keep telling me places to come to, and I'll do my best to document them. So I've got one last area of the shop to cover, and this is pretty much the front section as I walked in, but it was off to the right hand side. And this is all of the hand tools. So we saw over here all of the bigger outdoor equipment and things like that. And then here they've got any type of hand tool, literally. But again, it's this individual display. So you can choose the size of what you want, big or small. Again, you get your piece of paper write down the model number that you want, and that's it. You've got yourself an instant shopping list. And then in pretty much any category of item and tool, you just need to find it by walking around and then trying to figure out which one it is that you want. But they've got the different brands here. They've even got the Milwaukee ones tucked in the middle. Different rulers and measuring devices. Even these more technical ones. It's really far more things that I possibly need, and I don't know what to do with most of these things. Different hand tools again. Different clamps. I feel like I'm going to miss something as I'm walking around. I think if you came here, you would almost miss things because you were sidetracked by another aisle of other things. All sorts of different technical tools. There's the handles for glass cutting and glass removal, even down to the small surgical scissors. Just the way that they've been able to put everything by category or by type. So you have 100 different hammers, maybe? And axes, hand saws. Now I was told, so there is stickers on some of the shelves where they've got them by brand, and then on some items they've got them with the country of origin on. I'm doing a bit more of a general walk around here, so it's a little bit harder to spot things. Things like hand sprayers. I think these are for oils and things like that. Different oil bleeders. If I'm saying things wrong, please tell me the correct words. All the different tools for electrical work. Wire strippers. I'm not sure what some of these bigger things do. I've been looking for a tool backpack for quite a while. My wife wants to tidy up our shelf of things that I've accumulated, and this might be the shop I get one from. I don't know what most of these things do, quite genuinely. Especially here. Something to do with pipes, I think. And the same with all these. And we're going to come to the main part of the tool section in just a minute. These specialist screwdrivers. How many choices of screwdriver do we need? Do you think we need a few hundred types of screwdrivers? And then there's more clamp devices. Okay, these are the trays for catching oil. Maybe these are tools for car repair, possibly. I think. Some of these things look borderline dangerous, but I'm sure they've got their exact use for something. And then we get to one of the more interesting parts of the store, I think, is this hand tool section on a bigger scale. This is quite interesting. They've got the mirrors that are on a handle here, so you can see awkward places. Also the ones that have got the magnets on the end. Allen keys. Have you seen them this big before? And that's got to be 2 or 3 centimeters across. And then this entire wall here on the right are all the different individual tools. So spanners and wrenches. Then they've got some different sets as well. We've also got individual crazy sized spanners. Jones Way, if that's perhaps a well-known brand. So you can just buy the very specific size that you need. I mean, these things are the ones that remind me of oil rigs and heavy machinery. Not necessarily your home handyman things. I mean, have a look at this incredibly large one down here. This is huge, 70 millimeters. That is just absolutely massive how big it is. And then there's this whole wall of them. So there's different sets here, of course. And then on the bottom, all of these individual single tools. And all the sizes that you possibly need. So these are perhaps a specialist brand, I think. And then even the sockets. So you can buy just the individual one that you want. And they've got any size you possibly need. I'm not sure the difference here with the black ones. Is that just the way that they're coated and painted? Or is it a certain use for something that size? And then all sorts of different ones that are in kits. This is, for me, the ultimate shop. Now I know I'm saying it like I'm advertising. Now I've got pretty much every supermarket covered on my channel, and I've never took a single ruble for making videos. I literally catch the bus and train here, make a video, and then go home. Simple as that. Have a look at these sockets. I mean, that's the size of my hand. I mean, these are truck tire size items. I've got these other ones at the bottom as well. I mean, how many people are walking in needing one that size? That would be interesting to know. And then we're back around then towards the far corner. Trolley jacks. Lots of different trolleys to carry things, presses. A little bit of stuff for car maintenance. There's also some more outdoor tools. So of course in winter these are very, very popular. But come summertime now, they're in the back corner of the shop and not what people need as much. All the gardening stuff though definitely would be wanted. So it's just incredible when you see things on this scale, and then the amount of choices of things. And you've got 10 sizes of vise, right down to the little desktop one. There's Milwaukee right there. The adjustable wrenches. And then you've got more than enough other brands to choose from. So this tool section alone has to be as good as it comes of any shop in Russia. When I first arrived here and wanted to start making the video, I noticed off on the side of the shop, there is a automotive parts shop just here off to the side. So it's all connected together, literally walk in and out of both places. And they've actually got a spare parts shop, which is actually the same company as the tool store, and then the same owner. And it makes complete sense about the owner of the company, being that he's into drift cars, that he sets up his own car parts store. And this place is really quite interesting. You can't see most of it because it's all behind this paneled wall. So there is a retail section of it at the front here. And then they've also got quite a lot of these glass cases where they've got all sorts of different specialist parts. Spark plugs right there, injectors, and then there's all different types of engine oils, things for cleaning your car. Now, I don't own a car myself, so I've never really had a need to find these sorts of shops, but they do exist. They are here. Now, this particular store actually has two parts. So this on the right here is parts for pretty much all major car brands. So you'd give them your VIN number of your vehicle, and then they can actually find the specific part that you'd want. I've also got some displays here with some of the spares and different items. I mean, right down to individual single items on display. And then in the back, they've got these incredible storage areas where they've got endless amounts of spare parts. I've also got some more different parts on display here. Then this other section is another spare parts seller. It's all the same brand, but this has more specialist parts and things for auto tuning. And if you want to do up your car and put some fancy shock absorbers on, maybe some polished pipes. They've got the handbrakes and shifters right here. All sorts of parts that are a little bit shinier than what you'd already have. I just noticed over here the pedals. I'm not sure what all these do, but different parts for pipes, I would imagine. Control arms, springs. And then I would be fairly sure that this is the owner's car here. He does have his own merchandise, and his nickname is Gotcha, number 31. As I make my way out of Virage, I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it interesting. And for me, it's a place I have not been to before. I did a brief walk around before I started making the video just to understand about the place. I had a couple of chats with the staff just to understand certain things that I was looking at, because there is incredibly niche and specialist items in there that are perhaps beyond the average handyman. So the shop is considered a specialist tool market, or techno market, I think was the right description. When I was trying to ask about how it's described, there is a couple of different things. So there's obviously a lot of things for house remodeling and fixing, but then that tool section, and then all of the parts for tools as well, just puts it on a whole different level. And it's just so fascinating, the extent of the different products they had in there beyond your average hardware store. As I make my way through this shopping center to get out This is a very traditional, older style Russian shopping center. Actually, I showed one of these when I went to Yekaterinburg. They had something quite similar to this where they build them just as a big garage or a hangar. And they've got all the individual shops and vendors in here. So I hope it was interesting. If you are in Moscow or in Krasnoyarsk, I definitely recommend you coming here. I will put the information of the company in the description of the video. I do that for all the videos that I make. Time of recording, the map pin where it physically is. And I definitely would suggest at least at one point come for a drive out here and check it out and get lost in the store. Come for one thing, buy something totally different. So yeah, thank you everybody. And I just want to say thank you to a couple of the staff there that I chatted to. They were very interested in what I'm filming. Of course, when somebody walks in speaking English with a camera, it looks a little bit strange, but it's really not a worry at all. So thumbs up if you liked it, and post a comment. Point out something that I might have shown that you're interested in seeing, or maybe you've not seen in a shop before. That would be kind of interesting to know. If you want to follow my Telegram, the link is right here. And then if you want to watch an old video on the channel, I'll find something interesting for you to watch after this. Okay, everybody, I'm off on another adventure. Bye.